Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lurking for Legends, a live video cast where my awesome co-host, epic fantasy author Richard H. Stevens, and I speak with people from all walks of the publishing industry. Lurking for Legends is a live interactive broadcast, and we encourage viewers to chime in with questions for our guests or simply make comments on what you hear in the show. So tonight we have multi-genre author Judith Natelli McLaughlin. Welcome, Judith. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? It's so nice to be here.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming. I mean, multi-age, multi-genre, really everything. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you write.
So I do write across a lot of genres. The first book I ever wrote, I was in the first grade, and it was called The Bunny and the Eggs. And I've always just been a creative type person, and I was always happiest with markers and pens and tape. And I wrote this book, The Bunny and the Eggs, and I used masking tape to bind it, and I was convinced this is exactly what a real book would look like. And from that moment on, I just knew all I wanted to do was write. So I've been writing ever since. And I wrote a poetry book. I grew up on poetry. My father would always recite poetry, so I feel like the cadence and the rhyming, or not, however, the structure of poetry has always been embedded in my head. So I was always intrigued by poetry. And I started in writing this book called Poems on Fruits and Odes to Veggies, where healthy eating starts with a poem. So that was my foray into writing a poetry book, and a labor of love because I also illustrated it. So I wrote all these poems, and then I started painting my way through the vegetables, and then I self-published the book. I sent out a lot of feelers to see if there was interest in the book, and there was, but it was a little bit too niche for any publisher to really take on. So I went ahead and did it myself. And talk about a labor of love. I was designing and creating, and my markers were back out again. And I made the book exactly how I wanted it to be. I'll show you. I don't know if it's, there you go. Poems on Fruits and Odes to Veggies, where healthy eating starts with a poem.
I love that. And that is so cool that you illustrated it yourself.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
You must have enjoyed that. Yeah. So, but there are other genres you write as well. Tell us a little bit more.
So I do. So that's poetry. Then I write middle grade. When my daughters, I have 3 daughters who are now about to turn 27, 24, and 21. And I started when my oldest daughter was in the 5th grade. I wanted them to have a keepsake, a book. It's not about them, but each of their books is related to an incident or something that occurred. So I wrote them all a middle grade book. And let's see, Katie's is Dear Diary, E.P. Thompson here, and it's about a girl in 5th grade. And I wrote it because Katie at that time didn't like to read long chapters. So I decided to do diary entries in short, quick chapters. And so that's how it started, and I wrote that one for her. And let's see, then Lindsay came, and her book is actually set in the 4th grade. And it's about what happens when you flip your class around. Like, you don't want to box and bow people. Everyone, there's no geniuses, or there's no nerds, or there's no sporty people. Why can't we just all be friends? And it's called the 4th grade flip. And the main character in this book decides to flip the 4th grade completely upside down. And the girl's a genius, and she fails a test on purpose. And then she helps another girl learn to study. And they kind of all wind up flipping 4th grade and turning it around until it just works for everybody. So I wrote that book for Lindsay. And my daughter Maggie, I wrote a book about a girl who hates to read, because at the time Maggie kept saying, I hate reading, I don't want to read. So I wrote a book with the main character as a girl who hates to read, and she reads A Wrinkle in Time and then gets swept up into that world. So that's how that started, that I wrote the middle grade books.
That's so cool. So I see that you have McKenzie Good. Is McKenzie Good after one of your daughters as well, or someone you know, or is that just something you've made up?
McKenzie Good is all made up. And that's this is McKenzie Good Makes a Mistake. So this is a chapter book. So this genre goes like kindergarten through third grade, I would say. Kindergarten through third grade.
I was going to ask you what the difference is between a chapter book and a middle grade book.
Yeah, exactly. So a chapter book has to be, it's really short chapters, and it's written for the kindergarten through the third grade crowd. You write, Mackenzie's in the third grade, but you always write it knowing that the kindergartners want to read up and the first graders want to read at a higher level. Not that a third grader wouldn't enjoy the book, because they certainly would, but you want to write it so a kindergartner could get there and think that they're so old and mature reading about a third grader. So that's the chapter book concept. And McKenzie Good is always this is my series. So McKenzie Good Makes a Mistake is the series title. And then she did, the first one was called A Big One. The second one was called In the Kitchen. And the third one was called On the Basketball Court. So McKenzie Good is always making mistakes. And I also, I illustrated these too. Go this way. I illustrated my McKenzie Good books as well. So they're a lot of fun. And they are published by a publisher called Anaya Press. And Anaya Press is putting together a homeschooling program, and these books are going to be used in their curriculum.
Nice.
For the homeschooling. So that's very exciting.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, really big deal. Very exciting. And the book I was talking about, The Fourth Grade Flip, I am doing edits right now. I'm working with Anaya Press and my editor, Carolee Miller, and we are doing edits to the book because that's also going to be used in the curriculum.
So what was your secret to get with that press? Was it just a fluke, or?
You know what? I got Anaya Press.
The actual school board that's picking that up is what I actually meant.
Okay, so that one of their authors is putting it together. So one of the authors pitched it to Anaya Press and said, I've got an idea for this. And it was all, was that the question?
Yeah, I was just wondering how you got your book involved in getting it out there.
Because so one of the authors at Anaya was very intrigued by homeschooling, and particularly now with the pandemic and people doing so much virtual learning, that she was started prior to the pandemic putting this together. And then now in the middle of the pandemic, so this is just such a hot thing to have a homeschooling program. So because I've written for them, I was a go-to person for the curriculum. But I actually got Anaya Press on a pitch party, a Twitter pitch party.
A pitch party, wow.
Yeah.
That is really something. A lot of people kind of wonder whether it works because
it's successful. It can be. It was one pitch, and the party was about to end at 8 p.m. I said, let me just get my tweet in. I tweeted it. I got a response, and that was very exciting.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So the pitch party is just a tweet. So you're not actually even live on there. You're just typing stuff in. And
a Twitter pitch party is one of the most fun things. It happens. It's called #PitMad, PITMAD, and it happens. The one I did happens 4 times a year. So you get your pitches honed and ready, and you work on them. And on this particular day in the year, you pitch it, and you have to have your PitMad, but you also have to come up with your hashtags for chapter book or middle grade or fantasy or whatever your genre is. And then all sorts of publishers and editors and agents read these pitches. And if they heart them, if they like your pitch, then you get to submit to them.
Well,
yeah, it's a very cool process. And other authors can retweet. They're not supposed to like, but so that it's only publishers and editors liking.
Correct.
That's clear who you should send it to, but you can retweet and help it get seen more and stuff.
I think it's really cool. Help with those Twitter pitch parties. I'm all for the retweet.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Yeah,
you have to experience it. It's really cool because you see all these wonderful pitches and the amazing ideas out there, even just not part of your genre. They're just really cool to look at.
It is so cool. And exactly what you said, Christy, even if it's not part of your genre, it's magnificent. And then you see how someone boils an entire pitch down to, 148 characters?
144 characters.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work.
Hard. It is hard. So in terms of kids literature, children's literature, one of the things, one of our past guests, Allison Jones, I believe, has an MFA in children's literature. And one of the things that she said was that it was so much harder to write than she had ever thought. She thought it would be relatively easy or simple. And as she was getting her degree, she was like, wow, this is way more complex than I thought. So tell us a little bit about writing children's literature and some of the things you should sort of keep in mind if you're someone who's interested in writing it well.
I think there's a couple of things. You want to, like any novel, like any character that you're going to delve into, you want to know everything about them. You want to know their birthday, the color of their hair, what makes them tick, what they're afraid of. But then I have this, I never forgot what it was like to be in third grade. I never forgot what it was like to be in first grade. I can't say I have a photographic memory, but I have a lot of memories. I remember the days. I remember wearing the sneakers that I went the squeak on the floor in the school building. I remember so many details. So I tap into that when I'm writing for that genre. But then characters, like I tap into raising three daughters and remembering things. It's always good to call on a collection. Like kids are collecting things. You want to have some sort of theme throughout the book. So McKenzie Good, her catchphrase is wrong. So everything is, my sister looks so pretty. Oh, that's just so wrong. And that's her catchphrase. And she collects bobblehead dolls, which is something that can be pulled through the book. So something that connects you from the beginning to the end, that makes you sort of see what this character is all about.
So do you have to do research about like what's kind of like in for that, grade level that you're writing at the time?
I do, and I did. And when I was writing, I was lucky to have the research right in front of me, those the girls.
So do you have more plans for the McKenzie Good series?
I have one that I'm working on that's not out yet, but I think McKenzie Good is going to get on the wrong bus going home.
Uh-oh.
McKenzie Good makes a mistake on the bus.
That was one of my fears when I was a kid.
I
was scared of doing it.
That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly tapping into my own experiences and thinking, remembering that's a panic.
It is, definitely.
You can title the book "Mackenzie and Christy Get on the Wrong Bus."
Oh my goodness. So how did you come to realize, I don't know if this is kind of a silly question, but when I attempt to draw, sometimes I think some of my stuff is okay, but definitely not publishable. How did you kind of know that what you were drawing was something that you could publish that would appeal to kids? Were you like comparing against other illustrators, or were you just like, this is my book and this is how, I'm expressing it and I'm going to submit it that way?
I think I'm going to give you a combo answer. So I'll start with Poems on Fruits and Odes to Veggies. When I illustrated that book, I knew exactly what I wanted it to look like. For this particular book, I didn't want talking carrots, and I didn't want peppers with mouths, and I didn't want, little arms sticking out. I wanted it to be beautiful, vibrant, pop off the page pictures. And I just saw these huge watercolors in my head. And I didn't know if I could pull it off. So I actually went to class. I took a watercolor class. And I thought to myself, let me start painting and see what happens. And by the end of a year and a half or so, I had painted my way through the fruits and vegetables, and it was exactly how I wanted it to look. So my point is, in that particular, I trained myself. I learned. I got the skill set to do it, and I thought to myself, if it doesn't come out the way I see it, I'm going to have to hire an illustrator. If I can make it come out the way I see it, I'm going with it. And I loved it. And then that was a new skill. The doodling and the characters I've always, been playing around with. So I kind of knew for McKenzie, I knew what I wanted. I knew how I saw her in the doodling, and how I saw the illustrations in that book just sort of came naturally.
I love that answer because I find it so encouraging.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Just learn. you know, if it's in you, you can take classes and doodle and play around, and it's a lot of fun.
I just want to take you back to the fruits and veggies, and you know, how many pages did that book start with?
I don't know how many, my goodness, but maybe there's 15 or so. I'll show you what a spread looks like on this book. Asparagus.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And watermelon.
I'm gonna have to read that. I'm just so intrigued that you wrote poems about fruits and vegetables, and I'm thinking you wrote a poem about fruits and vegetables, but now I'm hearing that you wrote multiple poems about fruits and vegetables. So one about each fruit or each vegetable.
Yeah,
you can't even imagine trying to write that many poems about fruits and vegetables. That's just so unique.
It started because my friend was working on a vegan website, and she said they were trying to sort of appeal to children, and she said, Judy, do you think you could write a poem on a fruit or a vegetable? And I love a challenge. So I'm like, sure, let me try it. So I did zucchini. Zucchini is a lovely word. It rolls right off your tongue. Zucchini is a melody, a word that should be sung, bellowed loud or whispered soft. Say it either way. It's almost operatic in a veggie sort of way. Sing out loud and you'll agree there is no squash to beat it. But after all the singing, kindly slice it up and
eat it.
Yep. So that was such a hit on the website that I did another one, and then I just kept going.
That is so cool.
I could really see that, you know, as you're reciting it. I'm just like, oh, this sounds like something I would read in a kid's book or just a book, really. And it just fits. Like I can actually picture myself, you know, sitting in one of those groups, like where somebody's doing the storytelling and then they're showing like the book, you know, it's so cute. I love it.
Thank you. I did a lot of school gigs when this book came out, maybe 2012, and I did a lot of school gigs. I would go into schools and libraries and talking to kids about their fruits and vegetables. And it's funny, I tried to pick some lesser known ones like a parsnip, and it's a lot of people don't know what a parsnip is. So how do you know to eat healthy foods when you don't know what they are? So it's just such a way to give kids a good introduction.
That is so cool. I see when I was looking at through your website, and I don't know whether you write recipe books or you just have recipe videos. I noticed you had a bunch of videos about cooking.
So to pair with the poems on fruits and odes to veggies book, I started doing these little YouTube videos. Actually, I think I started it on Instagram, and then I put them to YouTube. So in 60 seconds, I would use a recipe that I cooked, and I would recite the poem, and then I would put it into a recipe. Rhyme time and recipe is what I called it. It's time for another rhyme time and recipe.
That's amazing.
Great. It's a good marketing idea too.
Yeah.
How many of those do you have?
Pardon?
How many of those videos do you have then? Like, do you have one?
Maybe I did 10. I think I did 10 videos.
That is cool.
Oh.
I think Richard might be frozen.
I think so.
So I think that's such a fantastic idea. It's a good marketing idea. Did you say that this book was also published by a press or that you published it?
I published Poems on Fruits and Odes to Veggies, was all made, self-published 100%. But I did it old school, 4-color press. You know, I found a publisher like that.
Very cool. Yeah, that kind of like intimidates me when I think about it. I see like how good the book looks, and you know that it's a wider size than a novel would be, of course, and things like that. And I think, oh my God, you know what do you go through to publish something like that? But the process was maybe different back then, or what was it?
I don't know if it was different, but it was a different process in that there's a lot of I like design work involved. I learned, this yellow stripe. I wanted that yellow stripe there. I wanted this kind of stripe on the bottom. Exactly. I'll give you another example. So that it was all design work. These are the peaches, and I knew I wanted it in a circle.
That looks so good too.
So that there was a lot of design work, and like any editing process, nothing happened on the first try. I actually made a mock book, is what they call it. I mocked up the book with my magic markers, and I sent it to the publisher, and then I got back approved. But we went through so many iterations of it before it really went live. But again, since I was doing it and it was all me, I was the one, you know. I'm telling them, I want yellow for the header page. I want this for that.
Wow. I think that's awesome. And I mean, that is kind of its own accomplishment. Like I said, it sounds intimidating. And I think it's just so cool to see a book like that I could see myself pulling out off of a library shelf that you did from scratch on your own. That is really so amazing.
Thank you.
Now, I know that you have also written adult books, and they're romance and women's fiction. Women's fiction is what's currently published. So tell us a little bit about that as well.
So the first women's fiction book I wrote is called This Moment. It's a tragic love story, sort of on the along the lines of Love Story, the book Love Story. And it's, again, I wrote it. I love that book. I do love that book. And I pitched it to a lot of people, and I pitched it to a lot of different places. And this one actually got pretty high at a faith-based publisher at the time. This was years ago. Anyway, it didn't get picked up, and I hired my own editor, and we edited the book together, and then I self-published. But I didn't love that self-publishing process. I like being creative. So the business side of it is hard for me to wrap my arms around. So after that book, I wrote a rom-com really, called Love Reality Style. And I pitched that book, and it got picked up by a boutique publisher. And I love that book too. I'm very, I love that book, and I wrote a sequel to that book. Not a sequel. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, sorry. What I'm doing, and it just kicked out all over the house. So.
Oh no.
Sorry. Keep going then.
So we're talking about now Love Reality Style, which is my women's fiction. It's a rom-com really. And I decided, so I wrote Love Reality Style with a small publisher, and then I am sort of making another goal for myself, and I really want to get to the next level, a mid-sized publisher before I'm not saying I wouldn't go with a Random House tomorrow if they called. Hey, call me, I'm here. But small steps, baby steps.
So based on that, do you have any advice as to like how to pitch your book or anything like that? You've had now at least a couple, if not more, books picked up by publishers. For all the many, many authors who are looking to get picked up by publishers, what kind of advice can you offer them about pitches?
You have to make it tight, really, really tight. And it's different. A pitch for a pitch party is different than a query letter. And query letters and synopsises, I think are harder to write than the novel itself. It has to be so tight and well done. And there's a form. It's really a form. Your introduction is how many, the genre, the word count, the title, and then you need a little pitch, and then you go into the a paragraph that develops the book. But it has to be almost more intriguing than the first page of your novel in general, because you're catching an agent or editor or publisher's eye in this one-page letter. So it has to be tight and unique. Yeah,
that's so true. My last book's over 60 pages, and I cannot stand writing the half-page blurb or whatever that goes in the back, or anything small like that and concise.
Right?
Oh, it's so difficult.
It's harder than the book.
I just want to write a synopsis of the book, and that's not what I'm supposed to be doing, really. I'm supposed to be trying to catch the reader's interest and not spoiling anything. And
right.
Certainly not.
It's hard.
It is hard. And a lot of times you can sort of look back at your blurb and be like, you know, you've published it or it's been published or whatever it is. But especially if you self-published and you look at it later and you're like, why did I do that? You know, like, clearly this can be better. I'm not sure why it came out that way and why I thought it was a good idea. But at least, you know, we can change those things, you know, when we self-publish, at least we can update.
But that's what I always think about the whole process of writing in general is putting a done on something is really hard. When is something done? And I don't know, since the time I was young, I used to always talk about The Catcher in the Rye and J.D. Salinger. How did he know Holden Caulfield was done? I don't know why I go back to that book all the time, but that's the first memory I have of saying that. And it's, how do you know when done is done? How did he know Holden's done? How was Phoebe done in that book? So at some point it has to be done, but I don't know that we ever are completely done with our characters, and they probably still live within us, and maybe we wish they had taken a different path, but kind of like they tell us where they're going anyway.
Oh, for sure.
Right. At some point you're not dictating it. They're telling you where they're going. You just, I always say I put them into a situation and then they get themselves out of it.
Or they don't.
Or they don't.
Yes. That is always shocking.
You're like, wait a minute, I didn't see this coming.
I know.
Here's an interesting comment from J.D. Estrada, and I echo that feeling as well. Romance is a curious genre, especially for a fantasy author. A lot of people bash it, and though we see such talented and passionate authors, so what challenges do you find as a romance author within your genre and from other authors as well? And, you know, you can't bash romance because it is the best-selling genre there is. So, no, there's got to be something going on with the romance.
I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going to go with this first. They do, it does get a bad rap, right? But the stories are well formed and they're well researched and they're well thought of, and a lot of it is just slice of life stuff. And from my perspective, I go slice of life any day of the week. I love that slice of life. And when you can make a character relatable, and romance is really all about and you can make it as whatever heat level you want. Romance doesn't always have to be stripping off the clothes, right? Romance can be a sweet behind closed doors. It can be very hot. It can be erotic. It can be, there's so many different levels, but at the end of the day, it's a meet cute, right? Whoever is partnering up in the book is meeting, and you want to find out how they meet, and they're going to have a trope, like a friends to lovers or enemies to lovers, or whatever your trope is going to be, and they're going to peak and they're going to fall. It's just such a great creative process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in all genres that you have very good stories and you have some very poorly written stories, and I think a lot of people jump on the poorly written stories and then just bring that to heart, take that to heart, and it's
agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, writing romance is very hard. It is.
Yeah. I think, I realized over time, especially being in the industry, the more time you spend, the more books you read and all that kind of stuff, that one of the hardest things I think about writing romance is the fact that your ending is kind of set for you already. And while some people may look at that and say like, oh, well, you don't really have to come up with an ending. It's got to be happily ever after. At the same time, doesn't that make it all the more difficult? I mean, everybody knows what's coming, so the story had better be really good getting there. Otherwise,
100%. And it is a happily ever after. So at some point, there's got to be a really good grovel in the story, right? Someone's got to be doing some groveling. There's got to be a really tragic fall. Someone's got to fall from grace. All that stuff has to happen. And then you've got to build the steps back up to how they're going to end up together. And that's what I think the difference, from my, this moment, which is women's fiction. Again, I love slice of life. I love that slice of life thing, but that doesn't end well. That book doesn't end well, which is why it's not a romance. It's women's fiction. It's a tragic love story. but knowing that there's a happily ever after at the end, sometimes you're saying it's hard, but it's kind of nice. Like, it's kind of nice to go into that, go into knowing that somehow I'm going to put them in a big fat mess, but they're going to wind up okay.
Yeah. It's definitely comforting. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that it's very comforting to read, but for the author, I definitely think it makes it more challenging in the way that, like, other genres, you can, like you said, you can have any kind of ending. It can be sad or devastating. It can be exciting and happy. Nobody knows what's coming because we all know what the end's going to be. It's really got to be entertaining along the way. So you've got to really do your work to make it keep the reader's attention and hold it.
Like I said, a really good grovel helps.
Yeah, definitely. So you already started on this a little bit. What is the difference between women's fiction and romance? A lot of people don't know the difference.
That's what I was just going to ask, because when you said if it's not a happy ending, then it's women's fiction. So is that the only thing that separates them, or?
No, not necessarily. Romance is the happily ever after. And again, like I was saying, there's all different heat levels. Romance doesn't have to be steamy, but it can. And, there's certainly, it certainly can. So there's lots of different levels of that. And women's fiction is just more, I think of it as more literary, less commercial. And I find that romance can be pretty commercial. Not if it's historical romance, that's you're talking different genres, subgenres of the romance category. But, I think what I particularly write is commercial romance, very commercial story. But women's fiction can be a little bit more literary and not as commercial, where you have that kind of like movie concept in your brain.
Absolutely. And I've found that when I read women's fiction, it can be very suspenseful. And, again, like you're saying, with slice of life stuff, that's something I think that they both share, but in different ways. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it can be really interesting, and you see yourself and your problems reflected in different ways in both of them too.
Agreed.
Sure.
So when I went on my hiatus with my internet going out, and I'm not sure if you guys covered this or not, but last week we spoke offline and online about being wide and exclusive. And I think I'm getting an echo here. I'm not sure if it's me or not, but are you, because you're writing so many different genres, do you find that you go wide one way and exclusive another, just because the markets are better, or you write all wide, or you all exclusive? How do your books go?
When with the publishers, they're choosing, so I'm out of it.
That's print books, though, right?
Right, print books, correct.
So what about you? I imagine you have ebooks as well. How do you handle those?
And then I really embrace the Kindle Direct Publishing, the KDP program.
Yeah, are you on Kindle Unlimited? So you're exclusive to Kindle?
Correct.
Or Amazon? So you're not wide per se with your ebook. Okay.
I did Kindle Unlimited.
That's all your genres.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, Richard, because just today I was listening to I think it was Ally. I think that's the author group I was listening to, and it has Joanna Penn, and I forget the other woman's name, but you can easily find them. And they were just talking today about subscription services. And when I first saw that, the term just threw me with books, because I keep thinking of like the boxes that you get and stuff like that. But actually it's Kindle Unlimited and Kobo Plus, things along those lines. And they were saying that they think that the trend is people are more and more going into things like Kindle Unlimited, so that they just do one purchase and they get as many books as they can read, really. So yeah, it's one of those things where, I know that you're looking to, get a publisher for each of your books and everything, but it's one of those things where it makes you really think before you publish.
And I chose that because I feel like to have that Amazon Kindle behind you is pretty powerful. And I feel like they know something, so algorithms that I don't know, and how to get it out there, that like I said, I'm not really good at doing that myself. So I'm turning all that over to them, hoping for the best.
Yeah, love them or hate them, Amazon's the biggest fish in the pond. So
100%.
So you're kind of it's a good business decision to go with Amazon, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm just struggling to whether I'm going to take my books out of Kindle Unlimited now. I have them out right now. I just took them out. I want to try to get them all out at the same time and then go wide at once. So all my books hit the wide markets at once. So I'm going to test that waters and see how it works for me. But I can see my sales are really suffered because of they're no longer in Kindle Unlimited. So
okay, interesting.
I make a lot more sales with page reads than I do with selling actual ebooks or physical books. And so we'll see how it goes.
Okay, that's interesting. And talk about the subscription package. So Anaya Press, who I was telling you publishes the McKenzie Good series and is doing the 4th grade flip. They also do kind of similar to the FabFitFun box or the Ipsy makeup box. They do a subscription box, but I don't think that's what you were talking about. Subscription.
No, I was just saying all my books right now, they were in Kindle Unlimited. So my ebooks are all exclusive to Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm pulling them out so I can go on to Kobo and Apple and Google and all that.
And get them out to everybody. No, but Christy was talking about the subscription box.
Yeah, I was mixing that up when Ally was talking about subscriptions for books, subscription services. And I was like, I don't usually hear Kindle Unlimited referred to that way. I just hear Kindle Unlimited, and then when I heard subscription, I was like, is this a box we're talking about? I think those are really cool, the subscription boxes.
So they think the publishers are doing that too. So every month you can get a mystery box or a romance box or a kids box. And they're tapping into that whole FabFitFun box concept.
That is really cool stuff, I think.
Yeah.
It's hard to market. Yeah.
There's so many different ways that it makes your head spin.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. So I saw on your blog that you had written something about writing. I don't know if you actually did do this year, but you were talking about doing some kind of a sort of like a challenge, also New Year's resolution about writing 52 letters a year, which is 1 letter a week.
52 letters. I can't believe you saw that. Yes, I'm doing it. Are we 12 weeks in the year? So I've written, I'd have to go get my notes, but every week it's called 52 letters. And so it all started, I have this friend I've been friends with for over 40 years, right? We went to college together, and it was in the summertime I had written her a letter, because that's what we did back then. You wrote letters when you were away from college, you're home for the summer. We wrote a letter. She saved this letter and she found it as she was cleaning out her house, and she called me and read the letter to me, and I'm crying, laughing. It is so funny. And just to put yourself back into that, when 18-year-old girl writing this letter, we were just crying with laughter. And we said, nobody writes letters anymore. Why doesn't anyone write letters? So I said, I'm going to do this challenge, 52 letters, and I'm going to connect with people I don't really connect with anymore, not for any reason. Then it's just sort of faded out. So friends and family that I don't see that often, I have been writing 1 letter a week to people, and it's been a lot of fun. It has been so much fun. And let me think, I've gotten, I said 12, probably 7. I did it not thinking I would get responses, and not putting a lot of thought into what would come back, but more about what I was putting out, and just this whole connecting thing. People have been loving it. I've been getting such nice feedback. Oh my God, this made my day. I didn't get a bill. This was so funny. It's so good to hear from you. Really a lot of fun, this project.
That is really nice. So has that, made you think differently at all in terms of writing? I know that it's more about correspondence and, different ways of communicating with people and all that, but has it impacted your writing in any way?
I think it has. I think it's, because I tend to be a very talky writer. Like I write as if I write letters like I'm speaking. I write books like I'm speaking. I try to, that deep point of view, get it out there. So yes, I think it helps with dialogue and thoughts and what's going on in people's heads. And that is something that people have got, when they get back to me, they said, I feel like I was just talking to you on the telephone.
That is nice. That is really nice. We should have a writer's circle that does that or something.
I love it.
That'd be fun.
That's awesome. That reminds me when I used to write letters, and it was just, you can put so much fun and energy and everything else in them, and so much love and care. And that just seems, for some reason, I don't know why an email is any different, but it just doesn't get in there. Like when you write an email, you're just trying to get a point across quick and get it out there and hope that you're not misconstrued, right. And they take the email the wrong way and all of a sudden react differently. But the letter, it just seems it comes from your heart, whereas an email.
There's nothing more exciting to get something in the mail that's not like a bill or a pamphlet. You're opening up and you see the return address and you're like, McLaughlin? What? It's just a lot of fun.
For sure. And if somebody actually took the time and cared enough to actually sit down and write me a letter. And,
yeah.
So that's awesome. It's something we should all do more of, for sure.
It's been a good experience.
Yeah, I bet. So what's new and what's coming up soon in the world of Judy McLaughlin?
So I am writing a book called Top 5 right now. And Top 5 is with, actually it's back to me now. I'm on deck. I'm doing the revisions right on Top 5. So I think I'm on the 3rd draft. So I wrote the first draft of Top 5, and Top 5 is about a woman who writes a blog of it's Top 5, but it's Top 5 movies, Top 5 pizzas, Top 5 phrases, Top 5 breakup lines, Top 5 sodas, Top 5 beers, everything. And this is just her blog is Top 5. And a publisher reaches out to her and says, hey, this is a great idea for a book. Why don't you come up with a book proposal? And she's completely stuck. She can't come up with this book proposal. So she winds up going to her aunt's for the summer. And who's there but this man who's going to his father's to take care of him because he's ailing. And so this man comes and they have a meet cute at the deli, but things happen. And so they never really become friends, and it's more like enemies to lovers. And so the edits are back to me now, but I'm pitching this book to One More Chapter, which is a digital first division of HarperCollins. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that maybe I can make some progress there.
No, good for you. We wish you luck.
Yeah, good luck. That is awesome.
Thank you.
So is that the only thing you have, the only iron you have in the fire right now, or have you got some chapters?
So that's the project I'm working on right now. And then I have also out there in submission land is a book called Summer on Butterfly Bay. And Summer on Butterfly Bay is right now with Hallmark and also with One More Chapter. So that I'm waiting to hear about as well.
Awesome. That sounds
We
exciting.
are cheering you on. I really
Thank
hope you get
you.
something. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us today, Judy.
It's been so much fun.
Talking to you and learning all about your stuff. And just for Christy's sake, I'm not sure what's new in the world of Christy Stratos.
Not too much right now. I had my latest release that came out and that at the end of March, and that was The Artist. Thank you. And it's historical suspense short story. And if you're interested in seeing some reviews, check out Goodreads because more of them are rolling in.
Okay.
So yeah. So that is the most exciting thing right now, and everything else going on is in the background. If you want to see more writing from me, because you can't wait until the next thing comes out, then join my Patreon, where you can find me at patreon.com/Christy Stratus, and that's just $1 to join for all the benefits. Because I really just want a community where we can all hang out and share writing. So check that out.
Good.
Oh, that's wonderful, Christy. There's not too much going on in my world. I'm editing a 150,000 word book and still going through that process, and I'm about 33,000.
A lot of words.
It is. I you know what? I enjoy editing. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I really enjoy the editing process.
Hmm.
I love making the book tighter and cleaner and sound better. So the problem with editing is I could probably edit my book 1,000 times and change it every time. And
When it's done.
it probably comes right back to where it started, and away we go again. But it's a wonderful process. At some point, you have to say that enough's enough. But so there's not a lot what's going on with me right now. I'm just in the midst of books, so I won't be publishing anything until probably June. So, and anyway, next week on Lurking for Legends, we're going to have historical fiction author, which I think is going to be right up Christy's alley. Margaret Pinard. Margaret describes herself as a soul from the 19th century who finds it easiest to disguise herself by drinking tea, writing historical fiction, and popping off to the British Isles for research. So Should be a lot of fun next week. So tune in for Looking for Legends, 8 o'clock Tuesday next week, and we'll speak with Margaret Bernard. And until then, I hope everybody stays safe and has an amazing week. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.